Chapter 17 of The Tale of Jimmy Rabbit. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by John Brandon. The Tale of Jimmy Rabbit by Arthur Scott Bailey. Chapter 17. The Rabbit's Ball. The Rabbit's Ball. That was a dancing party, you know. Was something to which Jimmy Rabbit had looked forward for a long time. Now only rabbits were invited, and everybody that came was expected to wear fancy clothes and a mask. Jimmy Rabbit had decided that he would go to the ball dressed like one of his sisters. He thought that he could have a good deal of fun in that way, and as it happened, he was not disappointed. The night of the great ball had come. Jimmy Rabbit had a delightful time dancing with friends of his who thought he was a girl. But after a while, almost everybody knew almost everybody else, in spite of the masks they wore. But there were two dancers who nobody seemed to know. One was dressed like a giant dwarf, and the other as a dwarf giant. And they looked a good deal alike, except that one of them, that was the gentleman, was tall and thin, and the other, that was the lady, was short and fat. They didn't appear even to know each other, but they both enjoyed the ball. At least they told everyone that they did. Before the ball was over, the tall, thin stranger invited Jimmy Rabbit to dance with him, supposing, of course, that Jimmy was a girl. It struck Jimmy that the stranger was very, very tall for a rabbit. Only rabbits were invited to the party, you remember. Well, as the stranger walked away after the dance was done, Jimmy Rabbit caught a glimpse of a bushy red tail beneath his coat, and he knew right away who it was. It was Tommy Fox, and, of course, he had no business to be there at the rabbit's ball. That set Jimmy to thinking, and he wasn't long in making up his mind that the short, fat lady was no other than Fatty Coon. When Jimmy looked sharply, he could see where Fatty's tail was hidden beneath the dress he was wearing, and of course he had no business there either. Pretty soon Jimmy Rabbit thought of a plan, and he hurried up to the tall stranger and said, "We are now going to have a new sort of dance, and knowing you to be a fine dancer, I would suggest that you ask that shortish, stoutish lady to be your partner. I would say that next to you she is the most graceful dancer at the ball." Tommy Fox hurried over at once to claim a dance with the strange lady, who was really Fatty Coon, only Tommy didn't know it. As soon as everyone was ready, Jimmy Rabbit climbed on top of a toadstool and made a speech. "The new dance," he said, "will be like this. Everybody must be blindfolded, so every dancer pulled out his pocket handkerchief and tied it over his eyes. The new dance will be without music," Jimmy added. "You will dance until the music begins, instead of dancing until it stops." Everyone said that that was a queer sort of dance, but Jimmy Rabbit paid no attention to such remarks. "All ready?" he called. "1, 2, 3, dance!" he cried in a loud voice. Among all that crowd, Jimmy Rabbit was the only one who was not blindfolded. But no one else knew that, for nobody could see him except the musicians. And as soon as Jimmy whispered something to them, they tucked their cornstalk fiddles under their arms and ran away. But everybody kept dancing because, you remember, it was to be a dance without music. Jimmy Rabbit had said that they weren't to stop dancing till the music began. And with the fiddlers gone, you might think they'd be dancing yet. But it was not so. End of chapter 17. Recording by John Brandon.